going on, man?
Hey,
You already know, man.
episode 3.
You already know.
Literally, with Ken and Karl.
Literally.
That's right.
Yeah, man.
Man, so I got a little story to tell.
Okay.
We've already probably done about 20 minutes of a podcast, and Mr. Professional here didn't hit record.
Throw me under the bus. Okay.
No, it was me. I did it. I didn't hit record.
I'm surprised you didn't, because every time there's like something that goes wrong, it's my fault. It ends up being my fault.
And what's funny is you said to me, it was God keeping us from talking about Alicia on the podcast.
Christ.
Because you were saying some stuff, right?
Yeah, I was saying something about her black ass. What you expect me to say? Like, I'm gonna sit there, I'm gonna talk. I'm not gonna change the way I talk about her. I'm gonna talk about her.
So it started because I was talking about our table, and we kind of changed some stuff around, and my wife Erica made some cookies,
Which I'm going to try because everybody else has tried them and told me about them. And by the time I go up and try to have one, Carl's like, he gives me that look like from like the Goodfellas. Like, you know how that one guy sits there and just shakes his head like it's over?
Mm-hmm.
That's the look you gave me. Like, I was like, man, can I get a cookie? They're gone. I was like, really? Yeah. And that's when Alicia would sit up there and just, oh, you having cookies off the chain? They were good. You should have got you one, blah, 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 blah. And I'm looking at her like, yo, shut your black ass up. Just pissed me off. Like, you gonna tell me about the shit because you just ate the shit. You was chewing on it. Just right there in front of me, just chewing. I seemed like, you know, she was chewing and the little crumbs was just falling down. I'm just looking because my eyes was like, that day I was tuned in and my contacts was like super new. So I could see all the crumbs just like she talking and just falling. And I'm just sitting there looking. I'm like feeling like the dude off of Office Space. I was just like, my piece of cake, my piece. You know, I was looking like that. Like I was that fucking pissed. And I mean, I just had to look like I was lost because you had brought in that freaking like can, like that bucket of like cookies, and there was nothing there. There was nothing there. It was just like opening it up and then knowing that nothing was there.
I'm going to say this because it's definitely sounding like you're insinuating that she ate all of the cookies, which she did not.
Damn it.
Okay, so I'm just going on record because she's going to be mad as hell as it is. And I'm really impressed you got to go on that rant twice. I didn't think you could do it.
Lisa, this one's for you.
That's right. And I will say, these cookies, she kind of upped her game on these. These are pretty incredible. They're chocolate chip Heath bar.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
Pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. Usually I don't eat cookies like that, but today I am.
Yeah. So I also mentioned some of the new stuff that we put on the table. We're going to try to kind of play around with the props. I've got tons of goofy stuff. So the lightsaber, because we left Vader's head out here for Ken because it gives him confidence.
Damn right.
So I got to keep my
Luke the Force,
my Obi-Wan Kenobi saber out here. And I was telling everybody, I kind of on the part that you guys didn't get to see, that this has got a special Rudy Pando chamber in it, and it's a Roman props Mark 1 Obi-Wan Kenobi Episode 4 saber. So shout out to those guys in the lightsaber community. Super talented. So, and then the arc reactor, which this is actually the second one that I've built. This one belongs to Dwight, a friend of mine. Okay. And he's a big comic book fan. And he and I get into conversations about the Hulk and stuff like that.
I love the Hulk.
Yeah, I know you do. Mm-hmm. I know you do. He's the man. So yeah, he saw the pictures of the one that I made for myself, and he was like, "Oh, I gotta have one." So I made him one. So shout out, that's yours.
There you go.
And my mother-in-law gets me some of the coolest stuff. Like when she found out I started playing drums, anytime she would go to like Goodwill or a yard sale or anything and see anything musical, it didn't matter. She would buy it and give it to me. At one point I had a violin.
Damn.
I don't play a violin. I had a trumpet. I had like all these weird instruments and stuff. And she would just, anywhere she was, she would buy it because she knew I was interested in it.
Damn.
Found out I was into Star Wars stuff. Eventually, when we get our set, I've got a 4-foot Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Who's pretty dope.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, it's, she's pretty cool. She gets me all kinds of crazy stuff. So yeah, we'll try to keep the table fresh. Yeah, not too bad, man.
Yeah, man, it looks sweet, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Maul looks better than, you know, Iron Man right there. I mean, Maul looking like y'all got me standing next to Iron Man. Like, really? And Iron Man's got that pose like I'm Iron Man, and then he's pointing down like, I love you 3000, you know? He got that look like, he just like, yo, I did it. I died. I saved everybody here. You know, it's just like, okay, you know, like before him, it was like somebody else, but after him, it's no one else that will do it.
Right.
You know, he's the best.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Loved Iron Man.
Yeah. It was a great movie. It was a great series. It was great. The whole thing was great.
They have a ton of movies planned.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of them.
They do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you don't keep certain heroes around, it's all going to fail.
Meaning, are we talking licensed out to other companies superheroes or superheroes that we're killing off?
Superheroes that's licensed out to other companies.
So the Hulk, Spider-Man.
You damn right.
Yeah.
If you like the Hulk, you need to keep him in there because you do need his brains. You need the brains of him. But if you take away Spider-Man,
especially seeing as they set him up to be the next Tony Stark,
you just fought the whole MCU like right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no ifs, ands, buts about it.
Yeah.
And people love Tom Holland and Spider-Man. They love him.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
I think he's fantastic.
I think he's great. I mean, he's got that same, when you read the comic books, that same kind of awkwardness, and at the same time that I'm nervous and I say jokes, you know, to keep myself, you know, kind of lined up with what's going on. He has that, so he makes it work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of excited about the movies that'll come up.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah. I'm hoping that they do it right, you know. I mean, besides Spider-Man, besides Thor, the biggest one that's going to kind of pull it all together is Doctor Strange too. I think that's where it's going to be like, okay, you're going to be the one to show what else is coming.
Mm-hmm. What's
going to make the new Avengers come back? What's going to make everybody come back and be like, we got to do it again, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think is Doctor Strange.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So, another conversation we were having that I missed.
Mm.
It's kind of an interesting one about code speak.
Yeah.
You know, for people that may not know what code speak refers to, it would be somebody speaking in a manner that they don't generally speak in to assimilate with another culture.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Is that close?
It's accurate. It's very accurate. Like, I'm not going to sit here and all of a sudden I see, you know, a guy who's Mexican and go to him, "What's up, Holmes?" Like, you know, I'm not going to do that. That's just kind of insulting. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had given out some bullshit stat that I made up that 90% of the time it's not tried or done in an insulting fashion, or they're not trying to be insulting.
Right.
But at least 75% of the time that's the way it's taken.
Yeah.
At least that's the way it feels.
Yeah, I mean, it works only like in certain situations or certain environments where, okay, you got this majority here, but when you come, you don't. I'm not gonna say you're gonna go and go, "What's up, Holmes?" or anything like that. Just, you know, kind of play with the lingo a little bit, as far as in the way they speak certain things, you know, and kind of just be you, but say certain terminologies that they relate to.
Right.
You know, but not coming up and trying to do the act and all of that. And yeah, that's where it just goes to the left. It's like, you know, when keeping it real goes wrong. You know?
Yeah.
You know?
And I guess not every not every culture experiences it as much,
Right.
because you don't see as much Asian code speaking. People would generally stay away from that because it sounds incredibly racist.
Yeah.
Although I think all of it does, but in pop culture, when terms change, like bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good.
Yeah.
When people adopt current kind of slang, you're going to get some of that would sound similar, but I think the approach and kind of how you do it, like if I said, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah.
It's just kind of the way I talk. Whereas if I was like, "What's up?"
Yeah.
I don't generally speak that way.
Yeah.
Or, "What's up, homie?"
Yeah.
It's just not me.
Yeah. I think that's never been you. You've always been the same every time I seen you. And it's just like, okay, cool.
Except when quoting movies.
Quoting movies is something you have to do in a particular tone and pitch and delivery.
You have to try to get the character. I mean,
like you have to do it. Like Jack Nicholson, you can't just sit up there and say a line by him just regular. You can't be like, "Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?" You can't do that. You got to be like, "Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?" Just that kind of. Okay, that kind of push or that emphasis on it. You can't do Arnold with just sitting up there and just, get down, head to the chopper. You can't do that. It's like, get down, head to the chopper, hit the now, get down, you can't do like Randy Savage. You can't sit there and just go snap into a Slim Jim. Oh yeah, snap into a Slim Jim. Oh yeah. You can't do it. You just can't say it regular. It sounds boring.
That's right.
It sounds just like the guy, the father on American Pie, like how he talks so bland. But,
Eugene Levy.
Oh man,
he is brilliant.
He is brilliant, but he has that pitch and tone. It's kind of like
Canadian Kid, like Eugene Levy. I grew up SCTV. He is just so funny. Him and Catherine O'Hara together are brilliant in everything.
It works because the fact that he knows where his acting is. He knows who he is in acting. He knows it, like, okay, this is me. Like he knows, like, okay, I can't be too over the top, but I have to kind of bring it to where it's believable. Like he kind of takes himself within the role,
right,
and makes it work.
Playing a straight bit, I think, can be more difficult. You know what I mean? Because you're feeding the person that's supposed to be getting the laugh, so to speak.
Right.
And so timing is so important.
Oh man, delivery is great.
And I think we were talking the other night about Gilda Radner and the fact that she was really versatile. She could be the slapstick or the punchline. Yeah. But she could also be the setup.
Yeah. She had the ability to kind of like, fill it out. Okay, I'm feeding off of you, but at the same time, if you're not that good, I can pick up the slack.
Right.
I can finish the joke.
Right.
I can make it still alive.
Yeah.
That's what she does.
Well, and I think Eugene Levy is definitely that way.
Yeah.
I think Catherine O'Hara is that way.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen the show Schitt's Creek.
I just watched pieces of it.
Okay, so that's actually Eugene Levy's son, Dan Levy.
Yeah.
And apparently brilliance runs in the family because that kid's just amazing, not only performance-wise in it, but that show is so fantastic because it's got so many different levels of funny in it. But you've got this underlining kind of, it's always kind of hitting you like, it's a really, really well done show.
Well, with shows and comedy and everything like that, it all flows together when you have the setup, punchline, but at the same time, when you have somebody who knows how to finish the joke, or they know how to deliver, or just to make it that line live, or just improv at an instant, and you have the right cast around it. Okay, I know this person, I know how he is, I need to be ready to feed off of him. When he goes, I need to go and just react. That's how you get great shows. That's how you have great casts. That's how movies go on to sequels. That's how it works.
Tim Conway from the Carol Burnett Show. That dude used to kill me. Oh, I mean, just and half the stuff that he would do was intentionally to get Harvey Korman to break character. Well, to get any of them to break character, because he would do it to a lot of them.
Right.
But I think some of the most memorable skits that they did was Tim trying to get Harvey, just completely off his game. And they were so funny. They did a dentist bit where Harvey Korman's in the chair. And God. Tim Conway's the dentist, and he ends up like Novocaine numbing or whatever his arm, and then his leg, and then he's trying to swat this fly, and he's like, "Oh God. Shit!" That's I'm telling you, like they were the greatest.
I mean, that's one thing that I always loved about far as in SNL, Mad TV. I mean, you can tell when someone is like trying to make everybody fall out right there. I mean, another guy who was like that, I mean, who naturally had that ability was Chris Farley. Anytime you sat up there and you see him do bits, everybody else kind of had to just kind of go, okay, let me not look at him right now. Or he would just come around and make you look at him. Like when Adam Sandler was doing the Lunch Ladyland and he was dancing around, and then he pretty much came up in front of Adam, he just sitting there working like, oh shit, man, I gotta hold my shit together. But it was funny, I mean,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he was great. He was great at that, man. I mean, him, of course, Will Ferrell, he'll make it break, but
I love that dude.
Yeah, that how I feel about him in Anchorman. Of course, Night of the Roxbury, Step Brothers, but Anchorman, of course, is one of the best movies that he's ever done and probably ever will do. I'm just being honest. I mean, he's gonna do other movies to make you laugh, but it's something about Ron Burgundy, man.
I want to agree with you because of the level of love that I have for that movie. But the level of respect I have for him, I don't think he's done. No. I'm just
not saying he's done. He's not. I'm not saying he's done.
So to say that he can't top that, I don't know. I can't put it past him.
Here's the reason why I say he might not be able to top that is when the cast has the right chemistry, when everybody can literally just go off of each other and make it work. Like, you didn't think for a moment that Paul Rudd could pull that off as being Brian Fantana. Like, he impresses you every time you see him in a role, because when he did Brian Fantana, when he sat up there and he was just like, you ladies get to meet the whole gang, I mean, I'm just like, dude, you just talked about your penis in front of everybody and talked about each testicle as if it was its own person. Like,
Panda watch.
I'm telling you, man.
Oh, he's great. But I will say I don't know that I've ever seen Paul Rudd in anything I didn't like. Now, I know he's been in some rom-coms, and I don't really watch romantic comedies at all. So.
I love them in Sausage Party. He didn't have that many lines, but he was like, "Fuck you, weenie," and it that was it.
I don't know. He's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dig him. And when he got cast as Ant-Man, I was totally stoked about it, because I was like, yeah, I'd fucking.
Yeah, he even said himself about Ant-Man. He was like, yeah, I'm only Ant-Man. Like, he knows, like, he's not like the biggest, but.
Okay. So only Ant-Man. But if it weren't for Ant-Man, they wouldn't have been able to time travel.
This is true. This is true.
And Thanos would have won, and they all would have been bitched out, basically, just punked out.
Thanos still won. Done. In a sense, Thanos still won.
No, not really, unfortunately.
Yeah, think about it.
I say unfortunately because I kind of think
about it.
He was probably right.
Gamora, took Gamora. You can't get Gamora back.
They did, though.
Gamora's gone.
No, she's not.
She's gone.
No,
go back and watch it.
No. She was there afterwards. It was the younger version.
Gamora is gone.
No.
The Gamora they know is gone.
No, it's the younger version.
The Gamora that they knew, that they became to know to be the Guardian of the Galaxy, is gone.
Right.
Now, then take that away. Now you lost Black Widow.
Right.
Scarlett Johansson. Anyway, but yeah, you lost her. Then at the same time, you lost the greatest weapon of all that you had. And he said, I am Iron Man.
Oh, no.
And you lost Vision.
Yeah.
You lost some factors that could change the whole game. Just Iron Man himself.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got Captain Marvel, right?
Yes, you have Captain Marvel, but still, you don't have the Iron Man. And I know where we're going with this.
I'm not going anywhere with this.
You're talking about Brie. Yeah. You know, they had it was the whole women movement going on. I have nothing against women and anything like that, but the way she acted was kind of like off. It was kind of horrible.
I'm not one that read a lot of the Captain Marvel comics. So it's not like I'm like some expert or anything.
Right.
So I don't want to pretend like, you know, I know how she was supposed to act. I imagine that because she was, you know, a female pilot and all of that, she would have to be cocky, and I get all of that.
Right.
You know, in any male dominated field,
Right.
women have to work so much harder, and in some cases be so much more ruthless, you know, to get there. You know what I mean? And so, you know, I can understand that you have to play the role a certain way.
Yeah.
But I felt like she just came off very flat and kind of lacking any pizzazz, or it like pizzazz is such a dumb word. Sorry. Like she didn't pop at all. There was nothing exciting about who she was.
Yeah. She didn't really come in there she didn't bring life to the character.
And for a character that's supposed to be that powerful, yeah, I wasn't a super big fan. I'm not going to hate on Brie Larson because I haven't really watched a lot of what she's done, and I don't really, you know. So I know she faced a lot of hate.
She did that to herself.
Yeah, those interviews didn't necessarily come off very well.
No,
you know.
They didn't. No one likes her at all.
I will say this. I think people get offended way too fucking easily, though. Oh, yeah. Like, big time.
I agree. Cookie's good.
You like those? Yeah.
I like the juice. I got you more juice. Yeah, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, I think she's okay, but she just didn't do what she was supposed to do for that role.
She wanted to get involved in the Star Wars franchise somehow.
No. 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 Star Wars, she would have started a war. So many people would have been on her ass.
Yeah. Oh, you should have seen it, like, blew up in all of the groups that I'm in. Yeah, ridiculous.
Don't get me wrong, like I said.
There were pictures of her with, like, a lightsaber and stuff, and people were just, like, hating on it.
She's
really
better
bad.
off walking around with a picture of a dildo.
Well, you know, Disney's going that way, though. That's, like...
Look, I don't have a problem with Disney, but at the same time, you got to pick and choose your battles. Leave Star Wars alone. Leave that whole community alone. I mean, because that's something that has you look at Star Wars like you look at SNL. It has made so many careers. So you don't want to mess with that.
There's a format to it.
Yeah, there's a format. You can't mess with that. You can't mess with the story of it. You can't corrupt it. Like it's already had enough ups and downs just in certain movies, but you don't want to do that.
You know, as far as the Star Wars thing goes, you know, I'm somebody that can kind of detach a little bit. There's so much hate in the Star Wars group. Like, people have to pick these sides. And I think that's just kind of society in general right now. Everybody has to have their side, and no one wants to listen to anything. But, you know, for me, I can watch a movie and say it was a decent movie. It wasn't near as good as this, or I probably would have, you know, preferred to see something different or whatever, but it wasn't like, oh, it's just terrible. If it's not 100% great, then it's shit. That's a shit movie.
Yeah.
And like The Last Jedi, people shit on really, really bad. And I don't think it was a great film. I really don't.
No.
I think there were dialogue issues. I think there were plot issues. You know, I think there were pacing issues. I personally, as a fan, I hated what they did to Luke.
Yeah. The only thing I liked in there when it came down to Luke was the whole, you felt the moment, the chemistry between Luke and Yoda when Yoda came back in there. He was, missed you I have. You know, you got that. You know, I was like, okay, that sounded like something they would say, you know, like they had that talk, you know, and, you know, it was like, okay, why are you destroying the Jedi tree and all that, you know, and he just laughed about it.
Nice.
Like that's Yoda, you know, that's that moment. It took you back to when they first met, like, okay, that, you know, it brought you back to that. But after that, it went to hell for me.
Well, you know, I think there was a part of that kind of made sense. You know, if there was one thing that the prequel movies kind of established, was that the Jedi Order wasn't as solid as they thought they were, and that's why they fell. Mm-hmm. You know, they had gotten so involved in politics and being forceful peacekeepers in a sense,
right?
That they kind of brought upon their own destruction. Right. They kind of lost vision of what they were originally supposed to do. So in burning the tree, he's basically saying, look, we didn't have all the answers. Mm-hmm. You've already learned whatever that was. You already know that. Yeah. It's got to be something new now.
It's got to be something new.
It's got to evolve. It's got to get better.
But when you have, you know, a villain who controls both sides, I mean, he's sitting there,
your boy
just
Palpatine.
Yes, my boy. I mean, he just, you know, you Jedi. It was a Jedi who threw me down. You know, he has that. You know, I'm like, okay, cool.
Strike me down with your anger.
Go ahead, do it. It's your destiny. Like he really, like he has that. It's just that's something about the way he talks. That just, you know, if he came in here right now, he just floated in. Can I have a cookie? Like, oh shit, give him a cookie. He will shot the shit out of us if we don't have it. Give it to me now. I go, okay, here, have the cookie. You know, I mean, at the same time, he's that dude.
I got this bad boy right here.
You think that bad boy was just gonna take him down like that?
I am one with the Force. The Force is with me.
And the Force was with him too.
The Force. The Force is with me. I am one with the Force. The Force is with me.
And he has the Force too.
I am one with the Force. The Force is with me.
He killed the Jedi just like you. You know, he's real. You know, can you imagine him like talking to women like that? Hello, girl, I want you. Like she'd be like, oh, do you really? I want to take you to my chamber. And they're like, oh shit.
Is that the best pickup line he could come up with?
You know, hey there, girl. Let me get at you. Or, you know, maybe, you know, at the same time, he could be that way. Or especially the worst thing I think for a woman, for him, is like when he climax, like, will he shoot lightning? He just is just like, she's dead.
Well, actually, he shoots lightning into his own heart to keep it moving so he doesn't have a heart attack during the middle of it.
I mean,
it's kind of like his own personal defib. Just
think about it. He survived that whole time like that on a machine that just kind of moved him around when he
Get
wanted.
Some electrocution shakes going.
Yeah, he has a shake with a little dumbbell that shakes around, holding it down. That's right. I'm working out right now. You know.
Terrible.
It is. You know, think about it. He survived that whole time. Chewie, the whole time he was there, the whole freaking time. You don't know what he was saying, but they knew what he was saying. And at the same time, there's some females I know whose weave looks just like Chewbacca's. But anyway, we'll move forward on that one.
I think it should have ended at 6. I really like. I think when George went back and made the prequels, I understand why he did it. Mm-hmm. Totally cool with it.
Right.
Did not think they were as good Obviously, there were aspects of them that were much better. The choreography and the fight scenes in the first 3 are the best out of any of the 9. Hands down. No, hands down. The choreography, the lightsaber battles, I'm telling you, they were so much better in those first 3 than in any of the 9 movies.
Well, I get it for Revenge of the Sith. Yes, definitely, definitely.
Even in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, he was just. I mean, come on now. You one of the best lines, Obi-Wan. Don't do it, Anakin. I have the high ground. It's like, dude. He told you. And he's sitting up there, little arm, he's looking like the freaking.
Don't do it, Danny. I've got the high ground.
Yeah, and he's just sitting there like, dude, don't jump.
Yeah. And
then all of a sudden he went up and it was just like, this motherfucker. That's why I was just like, just like, oh my God.
Well, don't forget, in the first one, you also had the Maul battle with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, but see, Maul though, he was dope as shit though. I mean, he just sat there for a second, like, I'm waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Bring your asses. Like, come get this death I have for y'all.
He was a badass.
He was bad.
It was funny. They killed that character off in that movie, and then you later find out through Clone Wars that he wasn't killed off. And thankfully so, because they put so much depth into that character. And Sam Witwer does the voice of Maul in Rogue One.
Okay. Yeah.
And also in the Clone Wars and Rebels. And he and Ray Parks was the guy that did Maul, the physical Maul in the movie.
Okay.
And also reprised the role for Rogue One. At the end, that kind of holographic or whatever. That was actually Ray Parks again. And they're good friends. Sam Witwer also does the voice for Palpatine in Clone Wars.
Yeah, but
insanely talented and a huge Star Wars fan.
I mean, Star Wars. I mean, it's great. Like when you look at it, and I think that's one thing. When you look at it as a whole, you have to say it's great. There's no fancy buts about it.
I think I understand why they went to the first 3. If they had stopped at 6 and then made 3 more movies, I'm fine with, but don't necessarily make it about that. That could be lore at this point. You know what I mean? They could talk about what happened in the past. Mm-hmm. I think leave the originals out of it. You want to do some cameos with Chewbacca or, R2 and C-3PO or something. But I think it should have been enough time that was all just legend. And then you create something new out of it, you don't get near the hate. Yeah. But as soon as you start fucking with the characters that people grew to love, you start getting that division.
Yeah, I'll tell you out of all the Star Wars of people who shouldn't have died, I have spoken. Man, when I seen him in Mandalorian, he was just sitting there laid out. I was just like,
Nick Nolte's character. What was he? I can't even
think of his
remember
name. I can't think of his name. But he was just sitting there like, that I have spoken is so gangsta of a line. Like, that's what I really want to do. Like, if I would get back in a relationship again, I just want to tell a girl, like, sit down. I have spoken. Or bend over. What? I have spoken.
And tell me how that works for you.
Exactly. It's going to work out fine.
How's that working for you?
It's going to work out fine.
So I hear you've been sleeping on the couch. How's that working for you?
Yeah, it's not going to work out. But the fact if it is, knowing me and how I am, I'll try it. I will.
Yeah.
And won't care.
Right.
Yeah, while their feelings are hurt. Like, that's how you going to talk to me? They're just like, I have spoken.
This is why you're single, right?
No, that is not why I'm single. I am single because I choose to be. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not get it twisted. Like,
so our last episode we did little family history time.
Oh man.
I liked it. I felt like I learned something about you.
Yeah. It's many adventures and crazy stuff that's going on. And
now, I don't know that we're necessarily going to make it like a weekly segment called Sister Stories. or anything.
Sister stories, dad stories, or just the adventures.
I get little brother stories too.
Oh man, I got adventures with running out of like people's houses when I'm trying, like when I was young, like trying to sleep with a girl, and her dad comes home and I'm running out the house like butt naked, like 3, 4 in the morning, calling my sister like, come get me. Like, yeah, that stuff. But that's neither here nor there. So anyway,
one of my longest friends, Randy, lives in Toronto still. Shout out to Randy. Known him since high school.
Okay.
And I don't know that there's any one person that I've gotten into more trouble with than Randy. And oh God, he's probably going to hate me. He's Chinese Trinidadian. And
what is that? Is that?
Well, you will find in the islands, there's a fairly heavy Asian population that gravitates there as well. So you'll kind of find, Indian people and Asians.
Okay.
I know India's in Asia, but anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So culturally, you'll get a lot of that. So, I've known several people from Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
And like I said, growing up in Toronto, it's really, really diverse that way. So, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Ed and Ann, both of their parents were Chinese Trinidadian. So Chinese, but born in mixed, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like his dad was Trinidadian, his mom was Chinese. And,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but Anne was great. She probably still is. I haven't seen her in forever. But apparently they're doing well. I still talk to Randy. Randy's mom was super generous. Like if I went over there, she'd feed me constantly, like all the time. And she'd always have like the best food. Like I got introduced to a lot of different dishes, like roti. Okay. Which is like an island flatbread.
Okay.
Different types of roti. And stuff like that. But yeah, so I would go over and she'd always have like food and stuff. And, but Randy used to get in trouble all the time, and man, she would be scary, and she was really short. Right. And I remember one night we had been out and Randy was going to stop in the house. I think we were going to stay at his place, but he wanted to go in and make sure it was cool. And his mom was up. And I'm sitting in the car, and he had this burgundy Toyota station wagon. We called it the Burgundy Bitch.
Jesus.
And I'm sitting in the car, and he kind of creeps in the front door, and he's not in there for like 2 minutes. And all of a sudden, he comes running, like Indiana Jones running from the ball in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, shit.
Like running out the front door, and shoes are just flying past his head. Yeah, she threw shoes like in the old Eddie Murphy sketch. I'm telling you, like,
oh man,
dude, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's what people do, sometimes, And nowadays, now you go to jail for going nuts and crazy on people. Now you just, that happens.
Made a man out of him.
Yeah.
He's got kids.
Yeah,
doing pretty good.
They instill morals into you, morals. It keeps you, sane. But now the minute you even yell or get loud, the child's on the phone, like, say one more thing. And if you say something, finishing off that 911, boop, that's it. They're at the door. They're coming in.
Yeah.
That's it. It's horrible. That's another reason why I'm not gonna. I have many reasons why I won't have kids, but that's kind of one of the reasons, because my thing is, I'm kind of like one of those like Bernie Mac, he was like, fuck you, I fuck a kid up. Like, that's what needs to happen. Like, that's
oh, you hit me with the Bernie. I wasn't expecting that. That was great.
But in general, that's what he believed in. That's how he was raised. Like,
right.
Everybody to a certain extent you got your ass beat, by your parents. I mean, that's where you got your respect from,
Yeah.
You can't go up to your parents and sit there and say something. Like, hell no. Shit, before I was watching wrestling, my mom was fucking Ric Flair. She would just, come across. Woo! I'm telling you, just nature boy. I'm like, shit, My grandmother, oh God, man, she had an old cane, and that cane had like nicks in it and stuff because she would sit there and beat the shit out of my cousin. Or I've literally seen my cousin get the wind knocked out of him. She threw a brick at him one day. I was like young as hell, and I seen she went, come here, and next thing you know, you just see him drop. And she looked at me. I was like, Grandma, I'm going home. I ain't fucking with you. I had that look like, fuck that shit. I'm not doing it, But in general, that kind of puts you in the perspective like, okay, this is my respect. I need to respect my elders, the people who raised me, this, that, and the third. It put some type of structure to where you go, okay, I don't need to do this or do that. And at the same time, you knew certain stuff you would go out there and do. Like, if I did this and they found out, I'm getting fucked up. Like I'm getting a beat down, Like my parents say, like they grew up where hell, if somebody did something and you would get multiple ass whoopings because everybody was gonna fuck you up if you did it, Mm-hmm. But now no one gets fucked up. No one gets an ass whooping. No one gets like, some kind of lecture, something to make you understand that, hey, what you did was wrong.
Oh, it's far worse than that. Everybody gets a trophy too.
Oh man. Look. If you have kids, if your child has lost, don't give them a trophy. Don't take them out and say, hey, we're going to have pizza. No, tonight you sitting home, you eating tuna. Shut up. That's what I'm talking about.
There you go.
That's it. Tuna. And I'm talking about not even the flavored tuna. We getting to just the straight water. That's it. It's watered down. Ain't no sodium. All of it. Cholesterol. Get it all.
Mm-hmm.
You lost.
I wish I could remember what wide receiver it was.
Mm-hmm.
There was an NFL wide receiver that was saying that he didn't support every kid getting a trophy.
Mm-hmm.
And the reasoning is sound. Challenge and difficulty in your life builds character.
Exactly.
And we both said that we were pretty fortunate. We didn't really have to need for anything.
Right.
We always had food.
Exactly.
Always had a roof over our head.
Exactly. I had more than enough food.
Right. Well, no. But just in general. So, it's like I still wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I still had to work for things. I had a job. I think I want to say my first job was like when I was 11 or 12.
Yeah.
Just trying to pick up money and do stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So, it wasn't like, my first vehicle was a motorcycle my dad bought from a friend of his for $500 and it didn't run.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, if you can get it to work, it's yours.
Right.
And I learned how to rebuild a clutch. I had no idea how to do that.
Damn.
But I learned and I got it done. And by the time I got it done and we actually got it fired up, it was running really rough. But my dad had seen how much work I put into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he took it to a shop and had them take a look at it. It turned out one of the carburetors, it had dual carb.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one of the carburetors wasn't working properly.
Mm-hmm.
So he actually had me, he helped get it finished off. But, I learned something really valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And I took care of that thing. Like I babied it. I loved it.
Right. Hard work pays off.
Yeah. And so, I think anybody that's been born with a silver spoon in their mouth is actually at a disadvantage.
They are, but at the same time, they are, but they're not.
I think there's a spectrum, and this is just my personal view on it. I think there's a spectrum and there's a sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you go through so much tragedy and strife in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a breaking point where it can just completely bury you.
Yes.
You go through so much of everything handed to you. I think it can also bury you.
Yeah.
I think having a mix of opportunity with challenge
So basically, it's a balance.
Gives you success in life.
Right. It's a balance.
Well, and it's still, at that point, it's still up to you on how you want to face that.
Yeah.
I've seen people that have opportunity and don't take advantage of it. I've seen people that don't have opportunity and find a way to make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I feel like, you know, everybody kind of has to have some sort of challenge or you know, difficulty in their life. I think it builds character. It kind of teaches you how to handle that disappointment.
It humbles you, but at the same time, I still believe it's kind of like it's kind of like Star Wars. You still need the Force. It's still that balance. You still need you need a bit of both to just kind of completely give you some type of like, life could be like this if I did this, or life could be like that. But you still need that balance in between to get you like, okay, this is where I want to be. You know, I mean, the reason why I say that most people who are born with a silver spoon in mouth have an advantage. They have an advantage because if they want to start something, it's right there. They don't, I mean.
They end up having the opportunity, but not the drive.
There you go.
And there's where the failure is.
Right.
Because everything comes so easily. Yeah, I can have startup capital for a restaurant.
Right.
And if, you know, I'm one of those who was completely pampered, and there's no 100%. There's always exceptions to every rule. Right. But if I'm extremely pampered and everything's been given to me, and I say, I want to open up a 5-star restaurant, and I don't know anything about the restaurant business, and I don't know that location matters more than anything.
Yes.
And the restaurant starts to fail, are you going to be able to make it a success? Probably not, because you're not going to know how to persevere in situations like that. It doesn't work for you, so you either throw money at it or you give up and move on to something else. Whereas somebody that found a way to put pennies away, to save money, to come up with a plan by doing solid data and research to find out where the best location for this type of cuisine, who's going to be my head chef, who's going to be my maitre d', who's going to run this thing. You know, I get all these things in place, and then I go and I pitch that to somebody and they give me a loan. Yeah. And this has been my dream.
Right.
And I've been fired from more jobs, and I've been, you know, kicked more times and told that I can't do this more times than I can think.
Yeah. That
who's going to have the successful restaurant? It's not the silver spoon.
No, it's not the silver spoon. I mean, for one, you said the main thing was that hey, they did their research. They've learned, you know, and most people.
Yeah, but when everything's on the line, you have to.
Of course. I mean,
when it doesn't matter because money's no object, you don't put that time in.
I mean, you have to do your research just on anything you want to do or anything like that. I mean, because this day and age now, we live in an era where we're a world where everything is moving so fast. And at the same time, it's like, okay, I want to get in this, but all of a sudden it shifts. Right. Like, it's like, okay, I was trying to do this, but now it's going this way, or now it costs this. It used to be under here, but now it's increased. It's like, okay, how do I find how do I start it, and how do I keep getting where I need to go with it? I mean, it changes so much now. I mean, but research is the main thing. Like anything that you want to do, try to do, like even beforehand, or just in general, like comedy, I would literally sit there and watch like just old stuff, just old Rodney Dangerfield, all that stuff, George Carlin. I watched all that.
Great, yeah.
You know, because even watching the new guys, still, in my opinion, there's something that's not really there. Like there's something that's kind of like missing when you listen to somebody old and somebody new. Like some of the old heads, they knew how to just deliver or say this like this in a certain way, or, you know, I mean, and that in itself is them. You can tell that they sat there and they studied and they worked their material, you know?
Yeah, I would say that there's part of that has to do with the availability of getting out there. So you get much more comics. Right. So I think just because there are so many comedians putting out specials, whether it's through Amazon, whether it's through Netflix, whether it's even just through their YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But I don't think that doesn't mean that there aren't still really great young comics.
Right.
I think there are. I think there's some outstanding ones that totally get it. I think they're just a little harder to see because before only the greats were the ones that got put in front of you.
Right.
Right. There just weren't the avenues for it.
Yeah.
So, you can market and promote yourself, and you can do all that stuff now, and you can gain an audience and never go through any of the mainstream stuff, whereas before you couldn't do that. So, like just off the top of my head, and I know John Mulaney isn't like young, but he's certainly not old.
Yeah, he's not.
Brilliant. He's one of my favorites. I mean, he's great.
I like the episode where Jerry Seinfeld, like, he's like, let me buy that. Let me buy that carpet for you. Let me buy that for you. He's just like, he was buying it for him to be generous, but at the same time, he's looking around like, okay, this is the style that you get. No, pick that rug, get that one.
yeah, it was funny.
Yeah.
But there are some really, really great comedians. I tend to watch more kind of the older school, like, I'm a big Bill Burr fan.
Right.
Joe Rogan, and I've mentioned him on the podcast before, not just because, Joe's kind of one of those really interesting, like, he's done so many things really, really well.
Right.
Like, he's an outstanding UFC announcer. I really, he's
he does that.
His stand up is really fucking funny. And there again, like, smart comedian. Like, it's not set up punchline.
No, he's not.
I mean, there's so much dimension to his act.
I think he's better now since he doesn't have his hair.
Okay. And as a bald guy, I'll take that.
I mean,
but like, he's been a huge inspiration to a lot of people because of his podcast.
Right.
And, one of the cool things is, like, he's helped a number of his comedian friends, like Bert Kreischer.
Yeah.
He gave him the advice, and he's like, Donnell Rollins.
Yeah.
Both started podcasts because Joe was just like, do it.
Yeah.
It's contact for your
Shots
audience.
them out, he puts them on.
Yeah. And you get that Joe Rogan bump. He puts you on his show. That's millions of hits, right?
Right there instantly.
Yeah. But yeah, I just, and the coolest part, and one of the things I think that really inspired me to want to start podcasting was the fact that he always did it just because he wanted to do it. And it was something fun to do.
Right.
And the reason he has always kept complete control over what he was doing is because he never wanted that. So, I know some of the podcast things that you can do, like iHeartRadio and some of the different ones. And I don't know a whole lot about them, but I would imagine that you're working for them at that point in some of those contracts.
Yeah.
Now, Joe just signed $100 million deal for going to Spotify.
It kind of makes me want to just shave my shit. Like, fuck it, I'm gonna be Joe. Like,
and well, you keep getting haircuts and wearing hats, so I don't really understand, like, why you don't just shave it off and be done with it.
No, I don't know. I'm not gonna do that. I have a friend who, like, he was going bald, like, in, like, high school. He was like, dude, it's gonna be over for you. So he shaved it. And I look at him like, dude, like, do you know if your hair tried to grow back, you would have the Sherman Hemsley, the George Jefferson? Like, his shit would be really fucked up. And I'm just like, man. And I look at him sometimes, like, when he's talking, I'm not, like, looking at him. I'm looking at, like, that head. And he's just like, stop.
I'm sure he appreciates that.
I'm telling you. Shout out to my boy, but I ain't gonna say who he is because he was
a Sherman, huh?
Yeah, I'm telling you, he got that, that moving on up, literally.
That's right.
Moving on up around his head. That's what he has. But yeah, but the comedy, man, that's one of the things that I sit back and I'm like, okay, I'll sit there and watch certain people and just watch it like Rodney Dangerfield. I like to watch him because he has those punchers. Like he has those quick punches. You know, just what did I tell you, my wife. You know, he does that, and it's like, okay, cool. And then Robin Williams, I watch him because you don't know where the hell he's going to go. You don't know, and it's like, yeah, he's great, man.
Do you remember way back when he had a TV show? Do you remember what it was called?
Oh God. That's some old shit.
Mm-hmm. Like the 70s, I think.
Very old. You're not talking about Morgan. Yeah, you are talking about Morgan Minute. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. That's where he got the suspenders from.
Yeah. And he was like young, and you could tell he was just like on just like a wild dude. Like literally, like he would just get off on the set and just, oh yeah, cocaine. The stories the stories about him and John Witherspoon told it. He was just like, yo, like the way Richard Pryor used to do them, like they would have to sneak by Richard Pryor's like trailer, like for when he was doing Richard Pryor show, because Richard would open up the door and be like, hey John, you know, hey Robin, come on into the trailer. What? Snort this line. Like shit. Like, man, dude, we finna get ready to go on. Do it. Like, you know, and they have to go do it, you know?
He just reminded me of Walk Hard.
Oh God.
You don't want nothing to do with this.
What y'all doing uppers and downers. You don't want no parts of this shit.
You don't want no parts of this shit.
He's like, oh, I want some of that shit. I was like, yo, and that John C. Reilly, that's another comedian within himself, man. He's a crazy fuck too.
Oh yeah,
he really is. But him,
so funny.
And the another reason why him and Will Ferrell go together is because they have that chemistry. Like you haven't seen, honestly, I haven't seen great chemistry like that. I'll say it, and people might get mad, since Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. I haven't seen it. I have not seen like two comedians get up there and nail like that good. Like they just really nailed it. They just went in, like far as in their chemistry.
Yeah, now you got me thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, think about it. Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, they did multiple movies with each other, you know.
Mm-hmm. Some of them weren't good though.
Some of them weren't good, but because of their but because of their chemistry, they were able to pull it off and make a movie, you know. Even though the writing might have been that great, which I will not say that Gene Wilder, I will say he probably didn't have his hand in there like he wanted to. Right. But, you know, even though my favorite movie by Gene Wilder is The Woman in Red, I love that movie. Like it's a classic to me in my eyes. But, and then of course,
Gilda. Wasn't that Gilda Radner?
She was in there. Yeah. What's her name? Lisa LeBrock, I think so. Is it Lisa or Lisa LeBrock?
Kelly LeBrock.
Kelly LeBrock. Yeah, I don't know who she could have been Lisa to be.
Weird Science.
Oh God, Jesus.
That movie wrecked me as a kid.
Oh God. Man, she was something. She was a force to be reckoned with. Even when she was with Steven Seagal in Hard to Kill. Mm-hmm. Man, you know, and he was running around and telling you, "Come and cut my heart out." I was like, I'm like, dude, you are on some strong ass cocaine to sit there and tell motherfucker that. Like they got the blade ready to, you know. I mean, you don't get good action. You don't get good action movies like that anymore. I mean, you do, but they're not like multiple people. You know, it's like you don't get the. Like, what happened to the days of Sylvester and Van Damme and like Steven Seagal and then what's my man Dolph Lundgren? Like you don't have those days. You don't have those movies like that anymore. Like you don't. Bloodsport was the shit with Jean-Claude Van Damme. You know, yeah, he'd be away from his eyes. You know, he has to be like that scene right there. I'm like, for any dude that was thinking about being gay, that's what it looks like to have somebody climax in your face like that. You'd be losing it right there. Like just like
I don't think everyone reacts to facials that way, but I mean
just think about it. Go back. He would just
I mean, if you kept your eyes open during it, yeah, you would probably have that reaction. You know, I think you should probably close your eyes when it's go time. I'm just saying. Yeah, I mean, ugh.
But I mean, even in that, like even Jean-Claude Van Damme, he was great in his moment, and even though he wasn't like the really
Bloodsport was one of my favorites.
Which one?
Bloodsport?
Bloodsport is everybody's. Like
I love that movie.
I would literally be up there dancing when they go Kumite, Kumite. I'd be like, oh shit, Kumite, like for real. I mean, and even then, even back then,
Dukes.
but even then, Forrest Whitaker, your eye still was not right, even in that movie.
Why you got to pick on Forrest Whitaker's eye, dude?
You know me. You know I will say some wild shit. Like, just because that's just how I feel. Like he was sitting up there. All right, Duke, you coming back with us? I'm like, dude, you can't even see Duke. Like right now, if he was just to turn and walk away, and then my Duke was in there too. And every time I see him, I don't know his name, but we know him from one movie, Ogre. Nerds.
You know something? I can't ever think of Forrest Whitaker without thinking about Bernie.
Really?
I hate the back of Forrest Whitaker's neck.
I hate Black Panther. You know, and Bernie, man, he was.
I'm sorry, that shit was so fucking funny.
Bernie was ahead of his time, but he was right on time
because they black.
I'm telling you, I hate Whoopi. Oh shit. So you couldn't let me get it to him. Bernie Mac, he was truly one of those comedians. Like him,
oh man,
him and John Witherspoon, they had that magic, that naturally funny. Mm-hmm. Like for instance, like Bernie Mac could be like sitting up right in front of the freaking school bus, waiting for kids to just get off the bus so they could get the hell on,
right?
And be like, hurry the fuck up. Y'all ain't gonna be shit. None of you gonna be shit. Look at the girl in the mouth with a thumb in the mouth like she sucking dick. When she get older, fuck up. Get the fuck on. Look at the little poet that's high like this. His mom need to start smoking that shit. Like, he had that natural ability to just see anything and say what he wanted to say. John Witherspoon, the same thing. He just, hello. That's him. Like, he had that naturalness. And that's what I think that some people do have in comedy, and some people just, they learn it along the way. And another person who has that naturalness and learned and mastered themselves in comedy, Gilbert Gottfried. I swear to God,
dude, that guy is unequivocally himself. Like, so actually, one of the podcasts that I follow is the Bill Burt podcast,
right?
And I'm a big fan of Burt Kreischer.
Yeah.
And I think he's hysterical. But I also, through the 3 different podcasts that Burt is on, because he's on Two Bears, One Cave with Tom Segura.
Right.
He's on the Bill Burt podcast with Bill Burr. And then he's got his own podcast, the Burtcast.
Yeah.
And just through kind of following those, and so I'm normally getting about 4 or 5 Burt podcasts a week.
Right.
You learn a lot about somebody, and you know, he's pretty open guy. Yeah. But the Bill Burt podcast had a couple of guests recently on their podcast, and Gilbert Gottfried was one of them.
Right.
And that dude is so fucking funny.
He's
just nuts. He will say anything.
It's that, and also he learned that, okay, he knows, like, okay, I know how to time myself, and I know how to deliver and punch. Like, he just does that. Like, just, I'm sitting here a fucking genie. Like, the way he does that, and he'll slow it down, and then just in case you didn't catch it, he'll go back and explain himself. Like, and it's like, dude, you're freaking great. He's awesome.
He was literally he was one of my favorites in Aladdin, honestly.
Of course, you gotta love him as the parrot.
Iago.
Yeah, he was going off. He was going off. He was pissed. You know, like he was talking like but at the same time he was like, damn, that parrot is really sick of this shit. You know? But I like Gilbert Gottfried because his voice is distinct, is very unique, but at the same time, you love him with the roast. Yes.
So I'm kind of glad you mentioned roasts. On Netflix, there's a series, and it's called Bumping Mics.
Yes.
And it's Jeffrey Ross.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And Dave Attell. And now Jeffrey Ross is probably one of my favorite roasters, just like from the roasts, because he's just savage, right? But Dave Attell is a stand-up comic.
Yeah.
That dude is fucking genius.
Yeah.
And there's this great kind of space that he's gotten into from years of experience and being in that. And the two of them being so quick and doing great crowd work that I think it's 3 nights.
I think it is 3 nights.
Yeah, it's 3 nights. It's like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And they had some different people come up on stage.
Yeah.
And Gilbert was the host for the Saturday night one, I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that shit was so funny.
One of them was Bob Saget. That was when Bob Saget was in there. Yeah.
Yes. And Bob Saget is such a dirty stand-up.
I loved him in that. And I loved him in Entourage. Like, he literally was in there just like...
His part in Half-Baked.
Oh, man. Jesus.
You ever suck dick for weed?
Boo this man! Like, I like Bob Saget in that. And then even when they had Bruce Willis come out in the crowd, you know,
right?
And what's his name? He was there too. One of the episodes, Paul Rudd,
right?
Yeah, like it's some good stuff in there, man.
Yeah, but seeing the two of them just kind of up there riffing, and
they touch mics,
bumping mics every time they had a good one, But yeah, I mean, it was just it's brilliance. Dave Attell. I don't know that you can really top that. And it's, you know, there again, like it's so dumb to kind of rank comedians in any sense because everybody kind of has their own kind of thing. Well, but I mean, if you ask any comedian, I guarantee you, he's probably in every top 5 of every good quality comedian that's ever doing anything.
I kind of rank them. I mean, overall by their body of work. I mean, like certain people, they'll rank Richard Pryor like as like one of the best, but he's only ranked up there to me because he was the first one to do something a totally different way or say something a totally different way that most people gravitated to in that moment.
See, but you can't really, it's like gauging sports.
Okay.
Because rules change constantly, right?
Right.
So the way you judge, Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or a Matt Ryan or whoever.
Oh, Jesus.
Versus somebody like a Marino, a Unitas. They played at such different eras. Right. You know what I mean? Like, you know, what Jerry Rice had to go through versus what, you know, a current wide receiver has to go through like Julio Jones. Completely different scenario. So it's the same in stand-up. You know, you couldn't push boundaries. There's a special on Netflix that I watched, and it was 3 stand-ups that were brought to Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Singapore.
Okay.
And Tom Segura was one of the comics. And it was a really cool, I won't go too into it, but it was kind of a documentary. And they went to some underground open mics while they were there. Right. And they also had some locals opening up for their sets. Okay. And because comedy is decades behind their comedy was not near sophisticated. Right. Because they haven't been doing it that long. Like you talk to Trevor Noah and he knows the point where apartheid ended and you could tell jokes. You couldn't do that before. Right. So you don't start with Dave Attell level material. Right. You don't start with Chappelle level material. Right. You don't tell stories that well. You don't, because you're not into that. You're very much back in the Benny Goodman kind of era. Oh God. Of kind of corny stand up and and you know, you're still experimenting. You're playing with this. So, you know, like Richard Pryor was a genius and was fantastic. Right. In his time period. And you can't ever take that away from him because at that time he faced challenges that no one today will face. Neil Brennan had this thing where at the Mark Twain award for Dave Chappelle, he said there was a time where only one black comedian could be famous.
Right.
Whereas now it's 3.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's still, there's still kind of a thing.
There is, but
Richard Pryor was like super famous at that time.
I think, but even then in that moment, like I said, like Richard, he's ranked up there, but at the same time, I like Red Fox just as much as I do Richard Pryor. I mean, and like I said, but once again, therefore me being the person that I am, even though I like those guys, both of them uniquely the same, I still love Paul Mooney because the fact of
oh god, Paul Mooney's fucking brilliant.
The writing that he did,
holy shit, that guy is.
The writing that he literally did makes him up there, and the way he talks. I mean, his comedy is just him being real about everything. He just get your black ass away from me, and he'll sit there. He will never put himself up there. He'll be like, Richard is the genius. He's the goddamn genius. He's the best motherfucker I've ever seen do comedy.
Well, Paul Mooney did a lot more writing than any kind of grab to get fame.
Yeah.
I think his name got bounced around a lot because of the Chappelle Show and the bits that he used to do on that, which were so goddamn brilliant.
Oh my God.
But he was one of those. He gets it. He gets comedy. He gets humor, and he's written for a lot of people from what I understand. Yeah,
like I said, I put him up. Like I said, him, like I said, I put George Carlin will always be up there because, for one, he was funny, but he's a guy that before Dave Chappelle, a lot of people don't understand this, before Dave Chappelle was doing the way he delivers his jokes and the way they tie it in, George Carlin was already, he was ahead of that game, like years out.
George Carlin was a wordsmith.
Yeah.
Comedy was something he fell into, but he had a way with words.
Yeah.
Jerry's latest special that we talked about on the last episode.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like there were aspects of that where his wordplay was really on point.
Yeah.
And he really kind of threw words around to kind of make you think. For me, I think it's more about just who makes me laugh.
Right.
And so, like I like different types of comedy. But I'm that person that I'm going to giggle every time somebody falls down.
Right.
I just, that's naturally me. But, for me, like Dave Chappelle would be my number one because I just, I remember, Killing Them Softly and a lot of his early stand-ups. And he was great then.
Yeah, he was great then, and I think over a period of time it was just once he started getting more into movies and people starting to actually see the other side of his talent besides being on a stage. Like for me, one of the movies I love him in is Undercover Brother. Like the way he would sit there, because you can tell that his whole bit every time they put the camera on, he was improvising. Like he just go off the whim and it'll be funny, and he'd be like, "What?" Like there's a scene there where Eddie Griffin walks in and he's like, "Hi." He's like, "Hi." The white man says hi, and he's hi. You trying to tell me you hunting me? That's what you trying to do? Hi. Would you smell me or something? He's just that's Dave Chappelle. Like you could tell he improv the whole freaking thing. But once they saw that, and then seeing that him go and do other features in movies, like one of the ones I love too is him on Nutty Professor. Him and Eddie Murphy are going at it, and you can tell it was like. There's at one point that it wasn't scripted. You could tell they were just feeding off of each other. But you gotta love Dave. I love Dave for the pride for seeing him progressively just rise to be who he is.
If I'm not mistaken, Mel Brooks gave him his first big break opportunity in Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yeah.
And I believe that he got to do some improving in that as well. But in the comedy circle, that's kind of like the Joe Rogan bump in podcasting, right? Like,
I mean,
Mel Brooks puts you in one of his movies.
There's certain people that's in Hollywood right now Like, say for instance, Mel Brooks he's old now, but if he says he wants something, or if he says, hey, this person needs to do this, you better believe it's gonna happen. Like, you got that kind of respect. You've done enough in the industry where people respect what you do, or you know, he has that. There's no, when it comes to like any old comedians or any old producers of like that, believe me, just because you don't see them on camera or their name is not mentioned anymore, it's not that they're basically stepping out, but at the same time they still have that same power. Like, literally they do. Like, Mel Brooks is one of those ones that's like, hats off to you. You know,
I wanted him to do a Spaceballs 2, The Hunt for More Money, so bad.
I mean, you know what? It's kind of like you want that, but at the same time, it's not going to feel the same.
Well, he couldn't for a long time.
Yeah,
because Rick Moranis, after his wife passed away,
and he had to be a family man.
He was like, I'm going to raise my kids. I'm not going to do all of this, and then, which so much fucking respect for.
You don't have John Candy,
but well, now you don't.
Yeah. You know, I mean,
we missed that opportunity. So,
yeah, you know, I mean, that's why, like, you know, one of my favorite movies with John Candy is always going to be The Great Outdoors.
Eric and I watch that frequently.
Dude, like
I'm old fashioned. I like assholes.
How are you gonna beat the bear getting shot in his ass? Like, you know, I mean,
big bear.
I'm telling you,
big bear chasing me.
My dad, every time we sit there and watch that scene where that bear get his ass shot, man, my dad is dying because the way the way the fur just rips off and you just see the ass just open up, like, what the fuck? Like, that is funny as shit to me.
Oh, he was great.
And then of course, even the respect, I respect Dan Aykroyd, like, far as in a lot of people don't know he's a great writer. And then at the same time, far as in, a lot of people don't know, the House of Blues, he was one of the ones who helped start that. He was like the dominant owner at one point.
Well, yeah, that was all from the Blues Brothers.
Yeah, like, you know, so he's one of those, and Ghostbusters pretty much was him. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I give hats off. Like, I mean, that's how much I researched and did my work, you know what I mean?
Look at you.
You know, yeah, you know.
Mr. Homework Guy.
That's right. I know how to read Word. No. But
you know how to read Word?
That's
Can you read more than Word?
That's
or is
right.
Word the only word that you can read?
I mean, look here. I've learned. Okay?
Well, you got to start somewhere.
I have to, you know. I mean, but I've done that research to just pretty much understand where it comes from, where it's going, and who really put in the work to really be who they are.
Right.
You know, I mean, and that's in anything. It's sports, that's anything. You know, everybody has to put in some type of work.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things we talked about the other night hanging out was I didn't realize how self-conscious I was going to get about being on video.
Okay.
And, you know, I had mentioned that, you know, I probably need to start using some whitening. I'm probably going to do a cigar per podcast because it's just great and I love them.
That's the Arnold in him. He wants to do.
I've got the stogie.
Yeah, you got the stogie
like you.
That's right. Put the cookie down.
This one time on the set of the movie Twins, me and my brother Vincent had to poop at the same time.
You know, it
was a touching moment.
I'm pretty sure he makes that same through everything. Like, he probably sits there and like hits his big toe up against something. Like,
that really smarts.
That hurts. Like, I can imagine him being like a baby. Mommy.
So in mentioning that I probably need to start using some whitening toothpaste, you had said that I was smart for wearing black.
Yeah. You damn right.
Because it hides how tubby I am. And I noticed you're wearing black today.
Well, you know what? The funniest thing is I said I was going to wear black. But this time when I wore the black, it wasn't even for this. I was like, let me find a shirt that I could wear. Because I said every time we meet, I'm going to wear like a shirt from like a character or something. And it happened to be Jaws. I was like, you know what? Let me rock that. And at the same time, Jaws is like, you know, it's going to be something attacking you, right? Mm-hmm. His dog is still trying to attack me even this moment, like, still. So you know.
Well, last week you rolled up in here looking like Grimace with a chest tattoo of Mario, right?
Oh shit. And that's why I'm like, yo, if this camera explodes, it makes me look like freaking
Dude, I couldn't resist.
People are gonna look at that first one and go, damn, he weighs like 300 something pounds. And I'm nowhere near that weight.
No, like 290 at best.
Yeah, like, and I'm not even that. Nowhere near that. And I was just like, Jesus. Like,
Yeah, I actually weigh 122 pounds.
On camera.
No.
Off camera.
No.
Yeah.
I don't weigh myself on purpose.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You just don't. You just don't want to. Well, look, you're married. You're happy. You don't give a fuck. So,
right.
So why would you?
That's right. And my wife makes amazing cookies. So how can I be thin?
They're good. I don't even eat.
Do you think I can keep weight off when my wife makes cookies?
No, you cannot. No, if you had protein cookies, you could keep the weight off. That's right. You have about 3 or 4 of them. Eat them and eat them now.
Yep.
In fact, go in there and go, Erica, I need the cookies. Give them now. Get the protein cookies now. Don't care if you're watching movies. If you're not watching my movies, you need to be making the cookies now. No. Head to the chopper. Really.
That's right.
So, I mean, I understand that. You know, most people, when they get married, they're like, you know what? Fuck the six pack. It's gone. It's gone. Bring me the keg. It's a party.
That's right.
For the rest of your life. It's
marriage,
man.
You got it all figured out, Ken.
I pretty much do. You know, I mean, I really do.
That's
like,
right.
no, I don't. I don't really have that figured out. Like the whole marriage thing to me, like when I like a dude, you know, when people go and they finally get engaged, it's always the woman that's happy. Like, I'm getting married. Everybody's like, woo! Our girl's like, yeah, girl, you get married.
That was exactly me when I got engaged. I just ran around just going, I got engaged.
Most dudes, they come in like, yeah, man, I went in, I proposed. They had that sad look, like they just got to go, like they just went in.
Well, guys, I did it.
Yeah. It's always that look like they just got bailed out of jail. Mm-hmm. Like, they're just like, yeah, I paid the fine, man. Like, I got to go work extra hours.
I couldn't hold out any longer, man.
It's not a moment of happiness at all. Like, I don't want that, you know? And then I grew up watching Married with Children. And I was like, when I was young, because I would look at certain things and like I was dumbass, like, as far as I would look at certain stuff. And I was like, yo, I don't want to be married looking like that. He don't never eat nothing. Ain't no food in the refrigerator. And everybody's always asking for $20.
Well, yeah, don't marry Peg Bundy.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
That one.
Yeah. So, I like the way you put that out there. But I just don't want to be that guy. Like, you know, and then I was like, oh, Jesus, I don't never want to be a shoe salesman. No. Like, the feet and at the same time is just horrible.
So every married guy is a shoe salesman married to Peg Bundy?
You know, I'm just saying that his life sucked on there. Like, it sucked.
Yeah.
You know,
his life sucked. It doesn't mean yours has to.
It doesn't. But you know what? I think honestly with marriage, it's more so why a lot of it doesn't work. One is because people don't get the time. They don't take the time to know each other. And also,
that's huge.
We are programmed in a way to believe marriage is supposed to go a certain way. You have to find your marriage, meaning that whatever works for you guys, how you guys talk, the way you do things, it might not be the same as everybody else, but that's your marriage and that's how it works.
Yeah. Our incredible relationship doesn't necessarily mean that would be your incredible relationship.
Right.
You're a different person. You need something different.
Right.
But it's about finding that whatever it is that works for you.
Right.
And for that other person.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work that goes into it.
Exactly.
You know, it's not necessarily easy, but I've never regretted it a day. Like, I mean,
that's great. And I mean, I've heard you like talk to your wife a certain way, and I'm just like, and it works. And I'm just like,
what do you mean talk to her a certain way?
Hey, like you might shut the hell up. You know, just go do something else, bro, like that.
Well, see, but that's earned. So I will say, like, you know, one of the things that personally I always felt like, because I have a temper, mm-hmm. and I'm somebody that, like, I'm super chill, mm-hmm. to a point.
Right.
But super chill to 300 miles an hour is just like one line. as soon as that line's crossed, I'm like full bore, right? And if I use horrible language to you or at you, and it's accepted, then it becomes easier to do that later on. Right? Like, you know, it starts out as bitch.
Right.
Then it's asshole.
Right.
Then it's piece of shit. Then it's motherfucker. And when you're saying those things to somebody in anger, you generally don't mean it.
Right, right. So why would you get that energy out? Yeah.
But you felt that you were okay to disrespect somebody in that way. To me, as soon as you start decaying a relationship in that sense, it becomes easier and easier to degrade to a completely unacceptable level.
I agree.
So you got to stop right from the beginning.
Yeah.
In anger, I would never speak to her like that, ever.
Right.
And she knows that.
Right.
And through the course of because we've been together for 22 years, almost 23 years.
Yeah.
Married for 19. And, through the course of that, we've learned how to disagree, because I won't even call it fighting.
Right.
We don't fight.
Right.
And some people in their relationship, they find it healthy to fight. And I'm not going to say what's right for anybody. I just know for us, because of the way we both are with tempers, it would never end well if we allowed that to happen. So for us, we separate. If I'm really pissed off, I'm not going to talk to you about it now.
Right, right. Yeah.
But we will talk about it before we go to bed.
Right.
We don't go to bed mad.
Right.
Well, but if I give myself space, I can then start thinking about, okay, what was the intent? What was it that really pissed me off about it? Get to the root of it,
right,
so that you're not just throwing a bunch of stuff on top of it to make your case.
Right.
Because when you're hot, things get escalated. You over embellish things,
right,
because you're upset and you want to make your point, which all of that stuff just clouds any kind of fix to that problem.
Right.
But if I give myself some space and I let myself think about it, if I truly care about her, then, I can go and I can say, okay, if I really want her to understand why I'm so upset and I really want it to change, I have to find a way to approach her where I'm not going to hurt her feelings or attack her, right? Because it's not going to get me anywhere. And ultimately, I just don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't ever want this to happen. So the best thing I can do is separate myself, figure it out, and then go back to her. And because we've handled it like that for so long, we'll say some pretty crazy shit to each other sometimes.
Right.
But that's comedy. That's
Those
is jokes.
Yeah, those is
I
jokes.
was fooling y'all.
Woo!
Ain't you ever seen the sun throw down the crack of another man's ass?
Oh my God.
I was fooling y'all.
Man, that movie, Don't Be a Menace, man. One of my tops for the Wayans brothers, man.
Oh my goodness. I love that movie so much.
They did their job, man.
Yeah.
Like, that right there, just, man.
Hey, Miss Lady Bitch. Hey, I heard y'all was hiring.
Oh man. Drive, motherfucker, drive. Like, that's my part right there. But that, I told you I can get a little crazy. Oh man.
Like, you ain't going nowhere.
Like, for real. Like, you freak out. Like, for real. Like, you don't get good movies and stuff like that anymore. No. It just went downhill. Don't get me wrong, Haunted House, those movies, they're still kind of good. They were good, especially the first one. Like,
what about the Scream movies? You didn't like those?
Scream?
Yeah.
Okay, now
it was Scary Movie. Scary Movie. Yeah, they were taken from the Scream movies.
The first two was the best.
Marlon making the cake,
man.
And that whole cake scene was just fucking great,
man. The first one. The homeless man, when he asked for $1 and she gave him a sandwich, he was like, I said $1, bitch. And then he threw it at her. I was like in tears. I said, okay, I already know how this movie's going to go. Like, it's going to be It's gonna be crazy.
Don't grab that hand. Grab the little hand.
Oh my god! Take my strong hand. I was like, and then he like was like fucking the turkey. I was like, oh god. And he just, hey, what's that? I was like, oh gee.